The quaint town of Aberdeen, Australia, was shaken to its core on March 1, 2000. Police officers responding to a domestic disturbance call at a modest brick home stumbled upon a scene of unimaginable horror.
In the kitchen, a pot simmered on the stove, its contents emitting a foul, unsettling odor. The source of the stench, however, lay not within the pot, but on the kitchen table. There, sprawled amidst the remnants of a meal, was the mutilated body of 44-year-old John Charles Thomas Price. His skin, flayed from his body, was draped over a chair. His head, severed from his torso, sat in a pot, staring sightlessly at the ceiling.
The air was thick with the metallic tang of blood, and the silence was broken only by the hum of the refrigerator and the buzzing of flies drawn to the macabre feast. This was no ordinary murder. It was a calculated act of savagery that would forever stain the annals of Australian crime.
The perpetrator, Katherine Mary Knight, Price's partner, and a woman with a long, disturbing history of violence. The officers who discovered the scene were veterans, hardened by years of witnessing the worst humanity had to offer. Yet, nothing could have prepared them for the sheer brutality of Katherine Knight's crime. The meticulousness of the murder, the calculated display of Price's remains, spoke to a level of rage and depravity that defied comprehension. It was a scene that would haunt their dreams, a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of ordinary lives.
Katherine Mary Knight's path to becoming Australia's most notorious female killer was paved with pain, neglect, and exposure to violence from a disturbingly young age.
Born in 1955 in the rural town of Tenterfield, New South Wales, Knight's childhood was far from idyllic. She was one of 4 children raised in a household plagued by poverty, alcoholism, and domestic abuse. Her father, Ken Knight, was a known alcoholic and a violent man who terrorized his wife, Barbara, both physically and sexually.
Young Katherine witnessed this abuse firsthand. The sounds of her mother's screams and her father's drunken rage, a constant backdrop to her formative years. The violence she witnessed seeped into her young psyche, leaving an indelible mark that would manifest itself in terrifying ways later in life.
School offered little respite from the horrors of home. Katherine struggled academically and was bullied relentlessly by her peers. She retreated further into herself, finding solace in solitude and developing a fascination with death and violence. Animals became both victims and outlets for her burgeoning rage. She reportedly tortured and killed pets, finding a perverse satisfaction in their suffering. This early cruelty towards animals, a chilling harbinger of the violence she would later inflict on humans, went largely unaddressed. Katherine Knight was a pressure cooker of rage waiting to explode, and tragically, it would be a series of ill-fated relationships that would ultimately provide the catalyst for her murderous rampage. Katherine Knight's transition into adulthood did little to quell the simmering rage that lurked beneath her surface. She entered the workforce, taking on a series of jobs in abattoir, a gruesome foreshadowing of her future crimes. It was in these slaughterhouses, surrounded by the sights and smells of death, that Knight seemed most at ease. She revelled in the brutality of her work, displaying a chilling proficiency in the dismemberment of animal carcasses that both impressed and unnerved her co-workers.
Her personal life, however, was a tangled web of volatile relationships and failed marriages. Knight's first serious relationship was with a man named David Kellett. The relationship was tumultuous from the start, marked by frequent arguments and physical altercations.
On their wedding night, Knight reportedly assaulted Kellett, choking him unconscious after he fell asleep following a day of heavy drinking. This act of violence set the tone for their brief and turbulent marriage, which ended after just a few months.
2 more marriages followed, both ending in acrimony and accusations of violence. Knight's second husband, a miner named David Saunders, fled their home in terror after she allegedly tried to kill him with a frying pan and threatened him with a knife. Her third marriage, to a man named John Chillingworth, was equally short-lived and tumultuous. Knight's pattern of explosive anger and physical abuse continued, leaving a trail of broken relationships and shattered lives in its wake. Each failed relationship seemed to further fuel Knight's rage, pushing her closer to the edge of a precipice from which there would be no return.